I'm Ryan.
And my name's Carissa, and today we are going to be making a video breaking down the technical analysis on moon clone contracts. So something that Ryan put out a few months back around the time he launched Not Safe Moon. And we have been getting quite a few requests from community members, as well as people just interested that maybe have looked at the technical analysis and can't quite comprehend it. So I have Ryan here today to go through this kind of step by step and break it down for everyone.
Right you are, Carissa. Right you are.
Right I am.
Here we are. So, I wrote this thing. I came up, I found some issues. I found some issues with the Safe Moon contract and with some other contracts. And upon bringing it up to some of the developers of these projects, they kind of just brushed me off because of how much money it was going to make them. Is really what it came down to. So, there's millions and millions of dollars going places that are pretty shady right now. And before I came out with all this, I really had to put it together, have a hard, documented evidence that is undeniable, which has not been challenged yet by anyone. It just simply has not been challenged because it's math, it's blockchain evidence, and you can't deny it. But it's confusing. So I'm going to try to bring it down to a level that people can try to understand a little better. So you don't need to have someone that knows code or science or finance or any of these things in there. We'll see.
Right. So why don't you go ahead and pull up now the technical analysis, which you can find at notsafemoon.com/TA if you are watching and like to follow along. But we're going to pull up on the screen here.
Yeah, so basically I talk about Safe Moon in it, but this applies to a number of tokens. Safe Moon Elongate, Moon Star, Safe Moon Cash, Moon Pirate, X Space, Bonfire, Aqua Goat. There's a million of them. There's so many. It's
million
Safe
might be
Galaxy,
pushing it,
Safe
but
Mars.
maybe thousands.
There's definitely
perhaps?
thousands, tens of thousands probably, which
At this point.
yeah, there's probably about 1,000 that have gained a little bit of popularity, but there's a lot of them. And so, but I talk about Safe Moon here because this was the biggest one at the time. It's still the biggest one.
And wait, it was the biggest one at the time, but it's also how you found out. It's not like you singled them out intentionally.
No.
Absolutely not.
I drank the Kool-Aid just like everyone else, and I fell in love with the idea and the dream, and I started making a website that would actually show all the information that you'd want to see. It would show all of your reflections, all your gains from that, and give you a good breakdown. Now it was basically just a fan-made website that would show you some details on your wallets. But in the process of looking at those deeper details live as they came through, that's when I found these flaws.
Perfect. So the abstract, so that's kind of a history or background of kind of how this technical analysis came to it.
Yeah, which was basically just all that. So we don't even need to read it.
So there's 5 main points or flaws as they're labeled in your technical analysis that we're going to be reviewing today. Ryan, why don't you just quickly break down each one of those, and then we will focus one by one.
So the first one that you hear advertised all the time, adding liquidity, automatic liquidity. So this, when we get down into it, we'll find out that this is actually a bad thing, and it does not do what it is advertised to do. The next thing is the liquidity pool itself is receiving tokens, and we'll see later that when that receives tokens on one side of the pool and not the other, it devalues the token. Then we have a problem. That was number 2. So then we have number 3, which is a major rug pull risk because this swap and liquefy add liquidity function from number 1 actually sends the liquidity pool tokens to an unlocked developer wallet, which is not very safe because that developer can do whatever they want with it. They could cash them all out at once. They could burn them. They could do anything. But what are they actually doing with them? Well, we're finding out in some cases they are cashing them out for BNB and sending them out, some exchange wallet somewhere.
Right.
A lot of them.
Into the ether, and unless there's really a public statement or some kind of...
Can't ask about it. It's NDA protected.
That's another story. So go on. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so then the burn address, which I talk about in here, that it doesn't receive new tokens. So that's looking back at it now, it's a little bit misleading because it does receive tokens through the reflections. It's one of the holders, and it splits up that for SafeMoon, the 5% fee gets split up between all the holders. So the burn address is a holder, and it receives reflections from that 5% fee. So at the time that we recorded this, SafeMoon's burn address, I believe, had 42% of the tokens in it, which breaks down to the burn address receiving 2.1% and everyone else receiving the other 2.9%. And we'll talk about more later.
Perfect.
And then the last one is just something little, which a lot of tokens do this when they have large functions like the one from the first step, or the first thing, the add liquidity, swap and liquefy. Then it will put all those functions together on the next transaction that comes through the block. So if it happens to be someone that just is doing a $10 swap, they might get stuck with $10 in gas because, you know, they just got the bad luck of the draw. So that's the last one. And here's some technical data. When I was pulling the data, this is just the addresses I was pulling, the chain, the block numbers that I was analyzing from and to what. So if someone wants to look in depth, this is the data set that I was collecting. And I was not pulling every single block. I was pulling every 10 blocks and averaging the data. And
then we arrive at issue number 1,
the
automatic lopsided add liquidity events.
Yes. So this is advertised all the time. We're adding liquidity, self-liquidity, liquidity generating. And what does that actually mean? If this was the case, if this is what was happening, what does that mean? Well, a liquidity pool is where you do your decentralized token swaps. So for the case of SafeMoon, you would swap BNB into their pool and you would receive SafeMoon. That's the swap through the liquidity pool. The liquidity pool has 2 tokens in it, or a token and a coin, or 2 tokens, BNB and SafeMoon in this one. And if we're adding liquidity to the pool, which is a great thing to do, you're adding it as a balanced pair of tokens. So you're putting BNB and SafeMoon the same value. So there'll be different quantities, but the value of the two will equal each other, and you're adding them at the same time. And that is going to strengthen the liquidity pool, decrease the instability of the token when people buy and sell. It's a good thing all around. But that's not actually what's happening. So this add liquidity feature that's happening with SafeMoon is actually, in the end, the very last step, yeah, it's adding a balanced set of SafeMoon and BNB. But what's the source of the BNB? Well, they're collecting a 5% tax, and then all at once they will take all the tokens and they will swap them to the pool and receive BNB. So that BNB just came from the pool.
Now, all of the tokens?
Oh, sorry, half.
Half,
right.
half.
Yeah, they'll take half of those tokens, swap them into the pool, and then now they'll have half the tokens they started with and an equal value in BNB.
Which came from the liquidity pool.
Then they'll take both of those and add liquidity to the pool, put them both in there. But what's happening, the net result in the end, since we just took BNB out of the pool and we're just putting it back in, the same amount of BNB is still in the pool that was in there before. But we have 500 billion additional tokens. Right. And is this good? Is this bad?
Well, a simple answer to that is what happens now when you're adding all of that 500 billion tokens back.
When you properly add liquidity to a liquidity pool and you add it in a balanced manner with 2 equal value tokens on each side, then you're not changing the price of the token. But in the manner that all these contracts are doing it, because the net result is only adding a token, you are changing the price. And you're actually breaking the way that liquidity pools are supposed to operate, the way that they're designed to operate through something called a constant product. We don't need to get into it, but it breaks the fundamentals of how these things are supposed to work. And the price is determined by the tokens in the pool. So if you're not adding an equal value on each side, you're devaluing the token that you're adding if you're adding it in a lopsided way. So when they add 500 billion tokens at a time, and during high trade volume days, this happens multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
When they're doing this, it'll drop the price sometimes 4 or 5% on every transaction that it does.
And one way to kind of get a good visual of this is using the dashboard to track these dumps. You can see how many weeks does it go out? But you can start tracking these dumps. There's a dump bar Ryan's pulling it up.
Yeah, I got it here. So this is for SafeMoon here. I've got a couple bucks in here just for testing this dashboard out, and we can look at the liquidity pool. So here's their dump threshold. As they are collecting this 5% tax, it fills up the token contract. So this is the balance in the SafeMoon token contract, which is at this address, starts with the 807. And right now it has 42.9 billion tokens in there. And once this progress bar fills all the way up to 100%, then it'll dump this full 500 billion tokens through. It'll happen in one single transaction, but in that transaction, it'll swap it to BNB and then take both and put them back in. So in the end result,
it's really just tokens entering into the liquidity pool. There's no new BNB because the BNB came from the liquidity pool in the first place, not from an outside source.
Right. And that's all through this function called swap and liquefy, which on the dashboard, it'll show you right away if the token that you're holding has that enabled or not.
Right.
So you can know
scroll down a little bit so we could. Is this the page where it shows how many dumps have occurred in the past, few weeks or so?
So yeah, there's a log if you scroll all the way down.
There you go.
So this is the past since the 21st of June. So it's been a really low volume for all tokens right now. We're in a downward trend right now. So there's only been 6 of these in the past 30 days. This will show about 30. This will show 30 days of history right now. So since there's been 6, what is that doing? These are the current reserves. So the SafeMoon liquidity pool is broken up into 2 different main liquidity pools. They have the Pancake version 1, Pancake version 2. The one it was set up with was Pancake version 1, and that is where all of these token dumps are going to go to. So the price will be affected directly into this Pancake V1 pool when these dumps happen. That's where you'll see a 4 or 5% drop. But as people trade, the price will even out between the two, and the net result will end up being like 2% overall across all the different pools that are, if you merge them together. So yeah, in the last 30 days, they've dumped 3 trillion tokens, and there's been 6 dumps. And then the average dumps right now are happening every 134 hours, and that's an average over the last 30 days.
Right.
So there are days, though, where there will be 4 or 5 a day when it was in really high volume trading.
And just for fun, not to interrupt, what if these dumps have not occurred over the past 30 days and there was no swap and liquefy function going on?
Well, I'm glad you asked. If we click over to this next tab here, reserves without lopsided liquidity, and all this is going to do is calculate that 3 trillion tokens that was dumped in the last 30 days. It's just going to remove that from the pool and then give us the numbers based off of that. So, for instance, with this one, it shows 3 trillion tokens less in the Pancake V1 pool, which actually would cause the price in the Pancake V1 pool in the last 30 days to be 40.8% higher than it is today. It's huge. I mean, that's substantial. Yeah. So my wallet balance of this token is what, $4.24. But if these dumps didn't happen in the last 30 days, my value, if we were calculating off the V1 price, would be $1.73 more. But if we merge the largest liquidity pools together, then it'll be 70 cents more than what I had, which is huge. I mean, that's 16.2% in the last 30 days. That's a substantial amount.
I was just wondering if those dumps hadn't occurred, what the price would be looking at. The dashboard has a feature which will show you this with your Moon coins. What would the value of your investment be looking like if these swap and liquefy functions were not occurring?
Yeah, so if the swap and liquefy functions did not happen in the last 30 days, my wallet that currently has $4.24 of SafeMoon in it would be worth an extra 70 cents.
Right.
Which is 16.2% when we combine the largest pools together.
Which 70 cents, but 16% is quite.
Yeah, I mean, I only have a couple bucks in there, so it's only 70 cents. But.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to.
Wait. But what about the next dump? When's the next dump going to happen? Well, if we click, I'm glad you asked, Carissa.
Oh.
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. If we click over to the next tab, we have reserves after next lopsided liquidity addition. Now, a lot of people have asked, how does the Twitter bot work? Which it's on pause right now because I'm adding a bunch of tokens to it. And this is how it works. So we know when these dumps are coming. We know that these dumps are going to happen when this progress bar gets to 100%. We know that the dump's going to happen. And we know when it's at 99.8% that it is about to happen. That's when the Twitter bot tweets that it's about to happen, when it reads that that's at 99.8%. And then once it actually happens, it checks for the logs on the blockchain to see if there was a swap and liquefy event for this token address. If there was, then it tweets out the result. And this is the result. So after the next one, which will happen probably in about 130 hours or so, based off of the current average. So whenever that is, we will have a dump that will add 500 million tokens to the V1 pool, and it will drop the price in the V1 pool by 4.6%. And it will be exactly this number when it happens. And the price, if we merge their largest pools together, will be 2.3% less than it is now.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions about the Twitter bot when it was going.
Yeah, I need to fire it back up. I've been working on too many things, and I stopped it to add more tokens, and I need to fix it.
All right. Well, thanks for showing the dashboard.
But now, wait, I'm glad you asked. Wait, so when you add liquidity to the pool, don't you get liquidity pool tokens? So if the token contract is doing this stuff automatically, what's happening to all those liquidity pool tokens? Because you use those to retrieve your BNB and your tokens later. Because if I was providing liquidity to a pool, I would get rewarded by PancakeSwap or Uniswap or whatever it is. They would actually pay me part of the trading fee to add liquidity, because adding liquidity is great. But to get my liquidity back out later, I have to give them back the liquidity pool tokens. Where are those going? Where are they going? Do you know?
A developer wallet?
Just
a wild guess.
They are indeed.
Ding, ding, ding.
And how do we know that they're going to a developer wallet? Well, we know because the contract for all of these is hard-coded to send the liquidity pool tokens to the address that owns the token contract.
Yes.
And that address for all of these is a developer wallet. And in SafeMoon's case, it's an unlocked developer wallet under the control of, I don't know.
Someone.
I don't know who exactly. But,
right.
And then they get to do whatever they want with that.
Right,
So,
but that's a whole other issue. Bringing it back to the technical analysis.
yeah, I mean, this is still a technical analysis, but that was a breakdown that helped
exactly.
make sense. So let me go back to the technical analysis here.
So that was kind of issue one.
Yeah, that was issue one. And if we look, and if anyone's interested, you can look at these transactions in depth on BSC Scan. So the dashboard does have a link on it. If you come down here for the recent dump history, there's a link to BSC Scan. You can look directly at those transactions on the blockchain in all their detail. That's what these are right here. This is just a log of the transaction. So there's their 500 million tokens being split into two pieces, being traded, and then being added back in. So
that's a good breakdown. Now, before we scroll past these charts, can you just kind of give a what are we looking at here? What are we looking at, Ryan?
This is the balance of the liquidity pool reserve. So this is a chart that shows the exact amount of BNB and the exact amount of SafeMoon in the liquidity pool. And you'll see this red box right here shows the event that is the swap and liquefy event. So these charts are going to be an inverse of each other. They're going to be a mirror image. And as you add one token to the pool, you get the other one back out. So these are always should be a mirror image. But if you zoom in on this guy, you'll see that it's definitely not. There's this big step right there. And that big step, if we look at it, that is the increase in only SafeMoon to the pool. And when you add just one token to the pool, here's the price. This chart right here is the price. That's the swap and liquefy event. And you can see the price had a significant decrease. In this case, this particular one that I was measuring was a 1.65% decrease in the overall value. And it happens immediately. I mean, it's predictable. And here's the same transaction. And this is a test wallet that I was using. And even though there was a 500 billion token transaction, holders are not getting rewards for that. So this was my wallet balance. And there should be a significant step up right there. But there's none, because holders don't get rewards for this. This is something that happens internally, and the developers get the LP tokens, and holders do not get any rewards. And the price comes down from it. So it's a lose, lose, lose win if you're the developer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally nothing good about this for the average token buyer. There's absolutely no
Right,
reason
so
this should ever exist.
The benefit really comes into play for the owner developer only at that.
Yeah, you're not adding liquidity, you're devaluing the token, you're not paying people rewards even though there's a huge transaction, and you're privately holding all the liquidity pool tokens.
Right.
I mean, and some of these dumps are worth $1 million. They're huge. They're huge.
Yeah, and it's odd to me that a lot of people just do not seem to mind this happening at all. We're talking like, millions of dollars.
Millions. And then people will just go, because when the Twitter bot would tweet this stuff out, people would go, oh, they're adding liquidity, they're migrating this thing, it's for this exchange, it's blah, blah. No. Wrong. Every single one of these is an automatic function done by code. You know when it's coming because the code on the blockchain just operates how it operates. You can't change
now,
it. That's
it's
just how
not
it is.
to say that there's projects or developers out there that are using this liquidity pool token and money to benefit the project in some way. It really boils down to a business model, what people are actually doing with it, how transparent they are when they're taking money, using these liquidity pool tokens to take money. There's a lot of factors and requires a lot of trust in the project and who's taking out this money, really.
That's true, yeah. Because in the end, somebody is in control of it. And do you trust them? What are their intentions?
Right. But it really goes against the whole point of what decentralized finance is supposed to be. When you literally have a single person in control of pretty much all of your money.
Right. Yeah, because they could take these liquidity pool tokens, and as we've been seeing over the last few weeks, there's, $500,000, $800,000 worth just being transferred off somewhere into the ether. Which,
oh yeah.
who knows?
Well, Ryan's referring to specifically is money being removed from the liquidity pool from SafeMoon developers,
right,
or developer or whoever. That's what he's talking about right now.
You can't ask about it in their chats or you'll get banned right away if you have a legitimate question with a link to the blockchain transaction and say, hey, what was this? What is this $800,000? Where is this going? What is this for? If you've looked
into it over the past few weeks, and been over $1 million removed, and then branched off into multiple unknown wallets.
And you'll get the argument that, oh, they are funding an exchange. Hold on. If you're funding an exchange, wouldn't you be funding an exchange? Like someone would say, oh, they're funding bit blah, 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 some random exchange with SafeMoon. Okay, then why was the transaction sending BNB to a Binance hot wallet instead of sending SafeMoon to a exchange? If you're funding an exchange, you would send the token. You wouldn't send BNB. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and there's been no public
you're not allowed to ask. You're not allowed to ask because
about what the money is being used for. So I hear the defense on that. It's a transparent project, and they let you guys know what's going on. But personally, I don't know a single person on the internet who has come out and said what that money is being used for. Just my observation.
And it might seem like we're picking on SafeMoon, but we're not. This is just the biggest one. This is across the board. I mean, It is disgusting how this is happening. And the Everrise ones are even worse. It's just more complicated, but they're even worse.
The Everrise contract is getting a lot of attention, getting a lot of hype behind it. I've been kind of egging Ryan to do like a whole new video, just going over that kind of stuff. But making these videos can be a little time consuming. But it's really just a more complicated way of doing what you're kind of looking at now in this Mooncoin technical analysis. Am I wrong?
Yeah. What? Sorry, I was reading this.
No, I was just talking about when you were looking into and we were talking about the Everrise contracts because it's getting a lot of buzz. It just feels worse. It's like a more complicated.
It's just slower. It's slower. So instead, with SafeMoon, they have the one dump that happens is a substantial amount. It's super easy to see on charts because it's a big stair step. It's a big transaction. It's easy to see. But so like here's the log right here of when it was happening last time. This was during a high trade day, so there was like 3 of them in one day here. And you can see that's a huge transaction. But if you go and you look at the Everrise contracts and the Everrise clones, and you look at their transactions, it'll be the same thing, but instead of for a transaction that's $1 million, it'll be 1,000 transactions for $100. And they're just doing the exact same thing, but all day long, they're doing it in a small amount so that you don't notice the big chunks. And they're doing it in small amount. So right now, I think they call it the Kraken. The Kraken has like $2.5 million worth of BNB in it. But
That's a lot of money.
it's a ton. It's a ton. But every single cent of that BNB, every Satoshi, all the decimals, I don't know what you would call them, all of it came from the liquidity pool. And I
don't know if that's actually true.
No, every single bit of it came from there, and it came through No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why is that not true?
I don't know. I thought, I don't know. I thought I had seen or heard somewhere or heard them talking on like an AMA or something that they had money from some. Well, where'd they get that money? I guess it all came from the liquidity pool.
Here's the thing. When I learn about this stuff, I don't go with Everrise. I learned about it through our Telegram, and I said, "What's the contract code?" And that's all I knew about it. And all I did was observe the blockchain. I have never been to their website. I've never been to their Twitter. I've never read a thing about them at all. I know what their logo looks like. That's it. I don't know anything else about it except the logo and the contract code and what the blockchain says. So I don't know what people are saying. I don't know what the chatter is. I know what the blockchain says because that's what's actually happening. I know what the code says. I know what the blockchain says, and that's what's happening. And what is happening is constantly throughout the day, they're filling the Kraken with, it's like $2.5 million right now worth of BNB, where every single bit of that came directly from the liquidity pool, which means that part of that tax, that buyback tax, is going into, they're immediately selling it, which drops the price, but it's dropping it a little bit, but it's doing it all day long. And then if there's a big whale dump and they activate the Kraken, then all they're doing is they're taking this reserve that they created by dropping the price. This reserve exists because they dropped the price by $2.5 million worth to create this reserve so that they can dump a little bit back at a time whenever there's a big whale sale.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's preposterous.
It's a cushion.
It's supposed to be a cushion.
Kind of like
it's supposed to be a cushion, but right now the Everrise contract has sold tokens to the liquidity pool to fill up this wallet, and it has sold 3 times the tokens than exist in the liquidity pool, which means that the price is impossible to calculate because it would be basically infinity times 3 would be the price of Everrise if it never had this function in the first place.
Right. So, Ryan,
it pisses me off. It pisses me off.
I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking. Just from like a psychological perspective.
Oh, it makes sense because I hate whales. I hate whales. They're going to buy after a whale dumps. It's going to happen automatically. That's great. I'm in.
Right.
Where did the money come from?
The liquidity pool.
It came from the tax. And then they don't get me started on their marketing wallet, which is just a private. It's like, what is this?
Well, that's not fair because
but what are they doing? They're marketing a lie to you, though. They're taking a tax so that they can sell you a lie, so that they can. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
So it does a lot of these projects do boil down to clever marketing and something that will appeal psychologically to the masses, even though on a technical and mathematical
and
plane,
financial,
it doesn't quite add up. But they're selling you an idea that makes people feel comforted and excited about.
And math is hard. Math is hard.
I'm not the best at math, but the more hang around Ryan and have to hear about all this stuff, it makes sense to me. And inevitably, you cannot argue with the facts. That's what it comes down to. We've gone a little bit off topic here.
No, this is the topic because they're all exactly the same. And you cannot argue math. I mean, you can't debate math unless you have an NDA that says you cannot. Then you're not allowed to. But we'll find out about that later. So, anyways, that was issue.
Are we even on?
That was issue
I feel
1.
like wasn't that issue 1
well,
or was that issue
we kind of merged them. But let me just do a quick recap of what issue 2. I mentioned that these dumps break the liquidity pool. And they do, because if we come down here, this is what so Uniswap came up with this first AMM automated market maker trading system with the liquidity pools and the automatic pricing determined through the liquidity pool, blah, 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 math. let's take us back to some algebra, do some math, graphics, what do they call it? Graphs.
Yeah,
So,
charts.
Yeah, so this is a chart of the liquidity pool reserves, and this is from Uniswap. This is how it's supposed to operate.
All right, it's nice and balanced, and
it's basically just you have the quantity of one token and the quantity of the other, and the value runs along this red line, runs along the red line right here, depending on what the value or what the balance is in there. So that's what it's supposed to look like. It's called a constant product. It's just supposed to be a smooth curve.
Oh yeah, constant product, constant K.
Supposed to be a constant.
Changes.
Supposed to be a constant.
Right.
And now this is what SafeMoon looks like. And each one of these shifts represents a dump. So every time this line moves in and out, it's one of these dumps. And all that's doing is devaluing the token. It's just making it worth less and less. So this is obviously really zoomed in version of this other one because the price never hit these extreme ends. But yeah, that should be a single smooth line.
Right.
If it's operating properly. If people would like to know more, there is the full market maker model and implementation, the full technical document, if you want to get real nerdy with it, is linked on here.
Yes.
And where are the liquidity pool tokens going? Which we talked about earlier, and we were looking at other stuff. But here we go. We can see right here. So this was 3 months ago that I did this, and ever since then, they have been they burned some of these tokens, I believe. They sent some to a separate locker that's locked for a couple of years.
When you did this, everything was on V1. I think V2 came for SafeMoon after all this.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, just commenting on that.
Right.
But go ahead.
Yeah, but these are the liquidity pool tokens at the time. This was 3 months ago, so this was August. What did I do this? August 16th that I wrote this paper.
Huh?
Or sorry, April 16th I wrote this paper. April
yes.
16th, 2021. And it's July 19th right now.
Yeah.
So this is a little outdated. But at the time that I did this, the liquidity pool tokens, the number one holder was their locker, had 60%. The SafeMoon owner had 33.8%. And then they had a second locker with 6% in it. And then nobody else. Basically 0.03% was the next largest holder. So basically nobody else.
But that was
controlled.
3 months ago, and they've only been around for like 4 months. So
right,
obviously a lot has changed. And
yeah, but I mean, what is it right now?
I don't know. Let's find out.
What is it right now? These tokens, liquidity pool tokens, at the time of this, 34% or so, privately held. What happened to those? Who knows? Worth $1 billion? Who knows? Who cares? It's safe. We're going to the moon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
Which I actually heard recently, though, that there was someone who came out with some breaking news. The moon actually isn't safe.
The moon is not safe.
Like, you'll probably die if you go to the moon.
You would definitely die. Yeah. Yeah. I would not recommend it unless you are a trained professional. Do not go to the moon.
Yeah, unless you're an actual astronaut with like astronaut credentials, I would advise not trying to go to the moon.
The moon is one of the most difficult places. I mean, there's
nothing to do there.
Nothing to do. There's basically no water.
Right.
There's basically
no water,
food.
There's no air.
Absolutely no air.
Yeah.
Gravity is terrible. It's like 1/6 of the normal gravity, and then you get all this.
How long does it even take to get to the moon? So it's like no one just casually goes to the moon.
It depends.
Okay?
It depends how fast you get there. Like the Apollo missions, it was about I think it was like 3 days.
Well, I guess that's not terrible. Like, everybody likes a nice road trip. I sure do. But like, once you get there, what are you gonna do?
Space is not very far away. It's about 50 miles away. It's very close.
Nice.
So people always think it's far, but it's not. And the moon is right next door. But don't get me started on flat Earth. Or do.
Or don't.
Let me tell you, when these people on TikTok go, hey, how come I can see the sun and the moon at the same time of the day, and then there's a shadow on the moon? How the heck would that happen when I could see this thing? Wouldn't I not be able to see the other thing? Do you know how far away the sun is, bro?
And that's why I don't browse TikTok.
Do you know how far away the sun is and how close the moon is? Do you have any idea? Do you?
I'm not a big fan of TikTok. Ryan sure is. I just can't.
I love conspiracy TikTok.
I love conspiracies. Don't get me wrong, but the TikTok is just like there's too much going on.
Sometimes you get into thick thighs TikTok.
Sometimes you're in boat TikTok.
Boat TikTok.
Car TikTok.
Car TikTok.
Those are the most.
Anchor News TikTok.
Anchor News. All right, so moving on.
Moving on, and we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
All right, so we're
Let's go down here.
yeah.
So at the time when I made this technical analysis, the top 3 addresses were holding 99.8% of all the liquidity pool tokens, which is 2 lockers and the SafeMoon owners, which means that they were, holding all of them. And it's still some pretty substantial numbers. I don't know what they are now, but I'm sure someone could look them up if they felt like it. So what are we looking at here? Oh yeah, so this is the their DX sale. This was their pre-sale. I don't even know why I have this. Oh, because this is where this is the locker address. That's just showing where the locker address was.
Gotcha.
That's not important. That was their pre-sale, blah, blah, blah. And this is how we know where those tokens are going, because you can ask, and this is the code method to do so. If you set up some Web3 JavaScript on your computer, and then you type this into the console, and you have an instance of their token created, it will show you the owner's address, and the owner's address is right there.
Right.
So it's undeniable.
A lot of people have been asking, how do you know it's the owner's address?
How do you know
it's going to a dev
Because
wallet?
the token said so. Because the token said so.
Because it's written into the contract, and it's there for everyone
So
or
you can
anyone to look at.
You can ask the token, and the token says, it's this guy's. It's this guy's.
Yeah.
That's the thing with blockchain. People think that crypto and all this stuff is secret, and it's not. Literally every single transaction is traceable back to every other transaction, and that's how it works. And you can't fudge it, and you can't lie. So yeah, what is this now? A breakdown of all of these tokens going to the owner address. Just a little more details on that. Showing the number 1 holder. And then we get into some of these questionable transactions, which they've been happening ever since day 1. They're still happening now. They're way bigger now. The one the other day was $800,000.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
They say that, and they're not the only ones. I just say that because they're the big ones, but all these other ones and anyone, they're saying, a lot of them don't get noticed because it's difficult to see that these things are happening. Some of them say, oh, we're funding this. Some of them say it's protected by an NDA. Just wait until the future. Future things are coming. Big things. Here's a picture of my new Lamborghini. There's big things coming for everybody else. Check out my
Someone
yacht.
got a Lambo.
Check out my yacht. Check out my McLaren.
But it probably
check out
wasn't
my gold,
you.
Check out my gold watch. No, I drive a 2004 Buick, son. And I had to redo the engine last summer because it was broken. And I took it apart, put it in my backpack, and I rode my bike to the machine shop so that they could redo my heads,
Yeah.
So it's what's up. It's Buick. It's a great way to stay in shape. It's a great way to stay in shape.
Yeah, for your health.
For your health. So, here's a transaction for 48,000. Where'd that one go? Here's one for 115. Where'd that one go? And this is them selling those tokens back to the pool, taking their LP back out, but that LP was not theirs. That LP was supposed to be added to the pool by the tax that was collected from all the holders.
Just take a deep breath.
Yeah. And then the burn address.
A lot of information.
Which, looking back, the way that I kind of just said this, it's misleading, really, because there's no external transactions sending tokens to the burn, but there is the internal transaction of the reflections.
Yes,
being
which
sent to the burn.
which are rewards, however you want to call them, reflections, rewards. It's tokens that holders get back every transaction that is made.
Yeah, I should update this because this doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Really,
So how are tokens being burned? And I think that's what it's going into.
Right. So this is basically the burn address doesn't receive new tokens, and it's just talking about how the burn address's original address was just the original burn that they did when they transferred tokens to the burn address. But really what that does is it creates a balance in the burn wallet so that the burn wallet can then receive reflections
Because
based
it's
off
now
of
considered a
wallet
holder
based off of that 5%. So it does receive new tokens. They're just not externally seen. I'm going to update this because it doesn't make sense really. And yeah, that was kind of described it incorrectly there.
Right. The burn address is receiving tokens through the reflections, which is a portion of that 5% that is advertised as going to holders. Currently, the burn for SafeMoon is what? What is it? We have information.
They're
on the
burning
dashboard.
2.1% right now, and I do have that on the dashboard. Correctamundo. So if we click over here on the burn tracker, we can see burn. We can see the exact thing. So they started with 1 quadrillion tokens here. They have burned 420 trillion.
Nice.
And then currently with their 5% fee This being 42%, and we can look for some details here, the true burn rate. So what's the true burn rate? I kind of came up with this term because the actual amount burned is not really what's actually being burned, and the actual rewards is not actually the rewards. So the true burn rate, as I dubbed, the true burn rate is the actual percent of each transaction that is sent to a burn address. So the tax fee is proportionally paid to all token holders, burn addresses, and liquidity pools. All burns are performed by paying token holder rewards to the burn address. Yes, the token holder rewards that you have fallen in love with, as you've noticed that they have not really been accumulating in your wallet, and sometimes it could take, I don't even know, long time to regain that 10% transaction from buying it, and another 10% from selling it. So how long does it take to get your 2.1 or 2.9% is your actual reward right now for this particular token called SafeMoon?
Right, because the burn's getting the rest. But what? So reflections are distributed based off the amount you're holding. So as the burn wallet is growing, it's taking more and more of those rewards.
It is, yeah. So right now, being a 42% of the total supply, it's receiving 42% of the 5% fee, which equals 2.1% of each transaction.
Right.
But as this number increases, the total burned increases, which it increases on every single transaction, which is interesting because, yeah, I mean, they're burning it it's being burnt because this number was a 1.9 is what it was burning when I first had the dashboard going, and I was first calculating this, and now it says 2.1. So, I mean, that burn rate is absolutely increasing, but as a result, the payment to just normal wallet holders that are investing is decreasing. So it was at 3.1% when I started the dashboard about a month ago, and now it's at 2.9.
Now, there was a good question brought up. Now, aside from the way that it's advertised 5% to holders, some people are saying, well, we like that the burn is accounting in the rewards because eventually it's just going to be burning more tokens and giving us less reward. But it will make up us getting less rewards because the burn will become higher.
Right. What they're saying is confusing, doesn't make sense also.
Right. But could you break that down? Now, these aren't anyone involved in a specific project. It's just community members, people. But you know what I'm saying?
Not really, no. I mean, but that's how people describe it.
Do you think in terms of the price, is it more beneficial for the burn to increase and the rewards to decrease? Will it balance out not getting those rewards?
So it's a little misleading because the law of supply and demand, shows when there's less supply of something, then it's worth more, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, the burning of tokens has no direct effect on the price. It has no direct effect. It does have an effect over the long term, but it's not a directly measurable effect. And what does that mean is that a transaction that's going to happen anyways has a tax taken out of it, but that tax taken out of it has no effect on the liquidity pools. And the liquidity pools is where the trading and the price is actually determined. So the burn has no direct effect on the price. What it does do is it lowers the market cap because those tokens are being taken out of circulation, but it is lowering it in a good way because it's bringing the gap, the bubble basically, of the liquidity pool reserves, which for SafeMoon, I believe they have like a 3 or 4% of the liquidity pool reserves actually covers their market cap. So if their market cap's way up here, 3 or 4% is way down here. So only 3 or 4% of that market cap is actually available to be paid out to token holders. Which means if just 3 or 4% cash out all at once, then that thing's going to fall apart real quick.
Yeah.
And I forgot what you asked.
I was asking, is it more people are defending or praising or liking that the burn is taking the rewards because over time
that it increases
it will be burned faster. Like the burn will increase.
The burn will increase, sure. Yeah. But then you hear these numbers thrown around like there will only be 1 trillion tokens left in 2 years. Well, that's not true because what if you already have 2 trillion tokens and you don't sell them at all?
It's true.
There's not going to be 1 trillion tokens left. I mean, you're making an assumption.
Yeah, the volume is impossible to predict.
You're making an assumption in those cases that literally everybody is going to sell the exact, same percentages or some substantial amount you can't make a determination like that. You can take a lot of data points from the past, and you can kind of project into the future. But this
You
is
can't
new.
predict the future, I
This
guess,
is
is
new,
what you're
and
saying.
if someone's not dumping their tokens, then you can't accurately say how many will be left in a certain amount of time. It's just absolutely absurd. Mark.
Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for kind of going over that, because that was a question I was actually asked earlier, and I was like, I don't really know. I don't know the math behind that, but
Yeah. Well, the math is right there. I mean, it's not that bad.
oh no, just like if more burn is going to be better than rewards.
I mean, it's good because it makes the coin more stable. And as that bubble that I was just talking about decreases, the gap between the amount in the reserves and the market cap, as that decreases, then sells and buys have less of an effect on the price of the token. And that's the effect. So the burns are good in the fact that it stabilizes the coin, decreases the bubble, decreases the, ruggability, I guess.
Now, what's the benefit of doing what you did with the contract you made for Not Safe Moon, of having a 2% dedicated burn period and a 6% reward tax?
So I
period?
did a lot of comparisons of tokens and a lot of projections, as much as you really can, and I settled on the 2% because it seemed right. There's a lot going into it. It was 3 months ago now. I don't remember all the exact details.
Right.
But yeah, I did do a lot of Excel spreadsheets and graphing and things to come up with that. But it's a fixed 2%. It doesn't increase or decrease with the size of any burn wallets or anything. But the 6% that's paid to wallet holders is not split up to anything else. There's no split to a liquidity pool. There's no split to the burn wallet. That 6% is being divided directly among wallet holders.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll always be 6%. It's not going to decrease over time because...
It sounds like having a fixed fee like that is good for long-term projects.
Oh, let's see. Let's do a quick little math thing. If we go off of these assumptions that I was just mentioning from another person that said that the tokens will come down to about 1 trillion left at some point. Well, if there's only 1 trillion left, then that means that 99%, right? No, that means 99.9% have been burned, right? Because there's 1,000 trillion in a quadrillion.
Sure.
Yeah. So 1 divided by 1,000, because of math, it equals that. So yeah, if there's only 1 trillion tokens left, there's going to be 99.9% burned. What happens to that 5% fee if you take it and multiply it by 0.001? What is the reward going to actual holders? 0.5%. 0.5. 0.5. So look forward to that in however long that there's only 1 trillion tokens left and your rewards are down to 0.5%.
Which I feel like, how long would that realistically take, assuming volume is like, I don't know.
Well, it's not going to happen because there's going to be people that aren't going to sell it, and it's impossible to determine. But based off those assumptions, if they do happen, which is something to look forward to, apparently, you will have you'd be looking forward to 0.5% gains on your reflections. You'll still have a round trip of transactions. A buy and a sell will still cost you 20%, but you'll only be getting 0.5% back. That sounds super good. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
And that was issue number 4 in the technical analysis.
Definitely one of them.
As we kind of dove into the burn address, where the rewards are going, they're going to the burn as well. Now, wait, but with the rewards, is the liquidity pool address excluded?
The liquidity pool address is included in the rewards for pretty much all of these clones. Yeah.
How is that helpful?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not helpful because if the liquidity pool is getting rewarded,
it's just getting tokens.
It's getting tokens, but what are these tokens? These tokens are devaluing the price, and they're devaluing the price in the same way that the amount that you're getting is increasing the price. So it effectively cancels it out. So your rewards are already 0. I mean, they're already basically 0.
So they're going to the
They're
burn.
slightly above zero.
Wait, they're going to the burn and they're going to the liquidity pool.
Right. But here's the thing. As they go to the burn wallet, they are not decreasing the price of the token.
Right.
They are
taking them out or removing them
from circulation. But as they are going to the liquidity pool, they are decreasing the value of the token. So it's just
what's the percent going to the liquidity pool?
It just depends on the size of the pool. So
is that in the dashboard? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is right here.
It is,
I can pull that up. Yeah, I've got that on here. Yeah, that's a good question actually. What is that? So if we look at the liquidity pools right here.
The liquidity pool.
Yeah, we can see the exact balance. So of their two largest liquidity pools, the V1 and V2, they have 22 trillion there. So it's not a substantial amount, but it's 2%. So 2.2% of their tokens. Now here's the rest of the largest liquidity pools, and these pools have, it's not a substantial amount. It's fairly small. Like this one has 13,000 compared to the next one up has 28 million. Here's one with 145. But yeah, so we could probably round that to 2.2. 2.2. So if you take 2.2, and we can do some math, carry the 1, and that means that your 5% is being decreased by 42% from the burn wallet and 2.2% from the pools. So yeah, 40 whatever percent. So it's even less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that isn't specifically noted in the technical analysis. I don't.
No, it's not. No, but in the end, it's just the rewards they're not very much, and the way that they are going to the liquidity pool decreases the value of the tokens as you're receiving them. So every token you receive is worth less and less and less and less.
Okay.
And what's crazy is that these functions can be fixed. You can turn these off. You can change them. You can fix it. It's still doable. You can still fix it. You can stop lying to everybody. You could do that at any time. I see that you're including and excluding people from fees whenever you want to make a large transaction, which you could check on the dashboard. Also, some shady shit that people do for these tokens.
The newest feature of the dashboard, the fee exclusions column.
You can see what these tokens are doing. Some of them, when we know what the address is, it'll tell you. So, for instance, we know that this one is a dev wallet, the owner wallet, and what did they do on 5/12/2021? They excluded themselves from a fee. And what's very interesting, if you go and you look at the transactions that happened right after that, then there's some kind of personal transaction, some kind of personal sell that they did where they didn't want to pay the tax. So they excluded themselves from the fee. Just for a little bit, Some of these are okay, though. Like if they are funding an exchange. So here's one for Hotbit, for example. When they funded Hotbit, they excluded...
send them tokens and...
They excluded the Hot wallet.
Yeah, it's like a wait list.
They excluded them from fees and rewards, which makes sense because you don't want rewards going to the exchange's hot wallet, and you don't want people to pay fees for putting their tokens into an exchange or taking them out. So that's cool. That's a good way. That's okay. You can do that. But the shady shit is when there's a transaction that happens when somebody excludes themselves from the fee, and then the next couple minutes they make a few transactions.
So it looks like on the one that we see on... Oh, go back.
And then they include themselves back in the fee.
Yeah, you can see it right... Oh, you keep...
you want to do page 2? Let's do page 2.
Looking at page 2, the dev wallet, it's highlighted in red. On 3/31, they excluded themselves, and then on 4/1, it included themselves.
Right, yeah. So right here you see include and exclude. And there was another one
on
in
the
between.
first page, which I think was the following month, they excluded themselves again.
Right. So that way, if somebody goes and checks at any random time, then, the devs are cool because they're included in fees. They have to pay the fees just like everyone else. Well, what about when they do a large transaction? They exclude themselves temporarily. And what does that do?
Well, they never, if you go back to page 1.
They never included themselves back since the last one.
They never re-included themselves, so that was, I don't know, however, 2 months ago.
Because as the army grows, they drink more Kool-Aid and
But there's all these other addresses too, like
right, which a lot of these I don't know what are because I didn't spend the time to go through them.
Right, but if you're interested and you want to look, just hop on the dashboard, .tools, and you can dig around for yourself. Right.
So if I was able to programmatically come up with who owns these addresses, so if I knew that it was a bridge locker or a dev wallet or an exchange wallet, then it'll show on there. Otherwise, it's not going to. But yeah, you can see if they're currently included. and oh, you're included in rewards, so you can get paid, but you don't have to pay fees.
Ooh, that's shady.
That is, yeah.
That is super shady.
Right. That way they get you money, but they don't got to pay the fees.
Right. So that's, it just feels.
It's gross.
It
it's
is. Yeah.
disgusting.
That's literally the word I was thinking. I was like, it just feels gross. I mean, the developers do these large projects that boom, making a shit ton of money, and they had to be even so greedy that they excluded themselves from the fees, but included themselves to the rewards.
The worst part is the shady
Doesn't make
bits
sense.
when they just do it for a little while and then they include themselves back in so that when people check, it looks like they were always included. But nope, not for the one transaction that they did for $1 million. I mean, with Not Safe Moon, the only token or the only wallet that is excluded is our marketing wallet. Because we didn't want to pay people and have a percentage being taken out of it. But if you check any other wallet, like here's one of my wallets right there. I don't have any of these hidden. They're all available for anyone to look at.
Yes, there's no secret conspiracy hidden wallets of Not Safe Moon developer Ryan Dunn.
And if there were, you wouldn't be able to find them, but there's not.
Right.
But I've had some people be like, "This wallet is a secret one of yours." Well, okay, first, you're wrong, and two, if it was a secret wallet, you wouldn't have found it.
Yeah. But aside from the marketing wallet, you won't see any other
but you can check that on there.
And since the contract is announced,
You can't change it
there's
now.
no way for Ryan to go back in and mess with any of that anyway. It is what it is. No one owns it. It exists. No one can change it.
Tis what it is.
Tis what it is.
Tis what
It exists.
is.
It exists for the people that want to invest in it.
And that brings us back to issue number 5. And issue number 5 says, no ass or cash or grass for free. How does it go? No one rides for free, cash, grass, or ass.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess.
No one rides for free, especially when we are skimming $800,000 at a time out of the liquidity pool. You are paying $40 in tax. You earn gas. You are, not us. No. The guy that did a $10 transaction gets to pay that. But so to verify this, to verify what was actually happening on these swap and liquefy transactions and who was paying the gas and where are things going, what's going on, I put the Safe Moon contract onto the Coven test network and just did a couple test transactions for this, and this is what breaks down right here. So here was a standard token transfer that we see, and the Ethereum gas is pretty expensive. That was a $4.24 gas fee just for a transfer, which it's expensive on the Ethereum chain. And then I primed the contract with tokens so that the next transaction was going to be a swap and liquefy dump to see what the gas price would be and who was getting charged. And sure enough, even though all I was doing was sending a couple tokens to another wallet, a couple bucks worth, I was hit with a 466% increase in gas. So it went from $4 to $20.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes, indeed. And then that's just a little more of a breakdown of the exact details in transactions that I did, or this was an example for Safe Moon. And up here was an example that I did on the test network. So yeah.
And that concludes.
That was a quick and easy hour and 4-minute breakdown that everyone can understand, that has no technical jargon, and
we were I in my mind,
quick and easy.
In my mind, I was hoping to definitely to try to break that down something quick, but we did delve into it. But we went into some very interesting topics.
Have fun editing it, Bill, because I don't want to do it.
We touched on some interesting things that related to the technical analysis, but fell outside of the technical analysis specifically, but still related. It's like a spider web of information.
And I feel like I should read this because people talk a lot of crap, and I know. And I want people to know that this is not just me talking crap. It sounds like it for sure, but it's me talking math and science and evidence. And if it comes off as me getting upset and angry about it, it's because that's what the math and evidence makes you do, right? But what was this? This is an analysis of publicly available data on the Binance Smart Chain, and in no way is intended to defame or accuse anyone of intentional or unintentional wrongdoing. The Not Safe Moon team has taken all reasonable measures to ensure the accuracy of this analysis and welcomes any feedback. However, we are human, most of us at least. Some of us are robots. And humans make mistakes.
I'm not saying who.
One of us. Some of us. portions of some of us as well. If anything in this analysis appears to be invalid, please contact us at info@notsafemoon.com with the supporting blockchain transactions, contracts, and addresses that lead you to your conclusion. If an error has been made, a public acknowledgement will be made, and the error will be corrected, which I just did because I wrote it in a way that was misleading. I totally wrote it in a way that was misleading, and I need to reword this because this is misleading and it's not exactly accurate because it does receive tokens, and that was wrong. I wrote it in a way that doesn't really make sense. So yeah, that was wrong.
Yeah, which is fine. And
but yeah, people make mistakes, so I'll own up to them if I do. If there's something that I made a mistake on, let me know. I'll own it, I'll fix it, and I'll rectify it, and I'll say sorry if I fucked up. And that one, even though it's technically correct because there's no new transactions, there are internal transactions, so it's misleading, and that was wrong. And what else did I say? And of course, if an error has been made, blah, blah. And of course, all content in this document is only our interpretation of information of a publicly available nature. Nothing in this document constitutes professional and or financial advice, nor does any information in this document constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the law relating to thereof. Words.